In the next few minutes, you're going to hear how to talk to growing kids about how sex, that's supposed to be wonderful, can sometimes hurt people. And welcome back to Sitting in a Car. I'm Sarah Sproul, and I sit in a car each week answering a question to help you raise your confident and caring young person who respects themselves and the people around them. And the answer to this week's question comes from the Courage Pillar of the Evolved Family Method. So the Courage Pillar does what it says on the tin. It shows you how to courageously speak up about really complex, dark realities of life. And that ability to speak up is super important for our ability to show our kids that they can come to us and talk about absolutely anything at all. Multiple people over the last few years have told me how when something horrendous happened in their lives, they didn't feel able to go to their loving adults, usually that would have been their parents, and tell them what happened. There are a number of reasons why young people feel unable to reach out after something goes wrong. So why don't we, you and me, make sure we eliminate one of those reasons by showing our kids in our day-to-day lives, when we're talking about hard things, that they can come and speak to us about absolutely anything, particularly if it includes things to do with darkness and pain. So, what you might do if you have this question, and the question is, how can sex, which is supposed to be wonderful, hurt people? You might be avoiding this whole area of conversation, or you might make vague statements about consent, things like you should never let anyone touch you if you don't want to be touched, or you should never touch someone unless they give you their consent, or you warn your kids to be careful when they go out. And it's sort of vague warnings of keep yourself safe, or make sure that you don't do anything that someone else might be upset about. And I understand why you would do those things or take those actions, because most of us weren't brought up with role models who talked about the brokenness in the world or the darkness in the world. They might have said there are strangers out there who can do bad things to kids, or maybe they didn't mention anything like that at all. Now, I've learned that when parents and other caring adults do what feels right, like in this instance, like what we've experienced in the past, there's a particular effect that comes into play, and it's called the tongue-tied parent effect. This effect causes you to feel anxious and afraid of scaring your kid, and at the same time you're worried that they don't have enough information or skills to take care of themselves, and you can see them growing bigger before your very eyes, and they might start wanting more independence. And so this situation is a priority now in your life, and those feelings make sense. Our kids are the most important part of our world. And we know deep down in our hearts what extreme pain they would go through and we would go through if something happened to our child. So in this episode, I'm going to show you how to talk to growing kids about how sex, which is meant to be wonderful, can sometimes hurt people. Point number one, if sex physically hurts someone, then what's happening is not actually sex. It's either abuse or a boundary violation or an injury. Someone's getting injured. So, for example, someone might not know that sex is not meant to hurt, or they do know that it's not meant to hurt, but they don't have practice or an understanding about how to speak up for themselves or speak up for their partner. Or they might have a trauma response, a natural nervous system response, which means that they're not able to speak up for what they need. Here's another reason why sex might hurt people. Someone who is part of this interaction that's meant to be sex doesn't know that consent is important in all things. They don't know how to read body language, perhaps, or maybe they don't understand that some people need a long time to make consensual decisions about their body that are right for them without being pressured by another person's needs or wants. Another way sex can hurt people is if someone is using their power and influence over someone else to take what they want from their body, or if someone is on purpose hurting someone else. They're either hurting someone else's genitals or hurting someone else with their own genitals because they don't care about causing hurt or sadness. They think they're the most important person in the world and the other person's needs don't matter. Point number 2, it's important to explain to young people and to children that there are many different ways that people get hurt in the world. And your kid will be aware of some of those ways already. This is not just about sex. They have not gone through life, they have not started school, they have not started childcare without some sort of understanding that people hurt each other. One example for me that comes to mind is we can be hurt by another person who is driving a car, for example, and maybe doesn't follow the road rules or loses focus for some reason, or just isn't paying attention. Maybe they're using their phone or they're getting distracted with something on the radio. We could also get hurt if we are waiting in a queue to buy something and there is someone that jostles us or knocks us over or pushes us down, even if this is an accident. The message is there are times in life where we experience really difficult, hard and painful things. So when we're having this conversation with our growing young person, we can help them understand that their job, if something goes wrong or it's hurtful or upsetting, is to ask for help. And if people aren't hearing or understanding that our kid needs help, and that could be us too, we might not be able to hear that they need help. We are distracted or not paying attention. If that happens, if our child is asking for help and people aren't understanding what's needed, then our kid needs to keep asking until they can find someone who listens and can understand what they're saying. And this goes for when our kids are growing toward adulthood too. This is not just about being small. Kids need to do that and grown-ups need to do that. And for some people, they can feel so ashamed or unhappy when something bad happens. And this is not just about sex, this is about absolutely anything at all, like bad grade at school, for example, that they can't ask for help. And it makes sense that they would feel like that. It's not the most helpful thing to feel, but the feelings do make sense. Point number 3, kids between the ages of 5 and 8 should have had conversations about sexual violence and aggression with a caring adult, alongside opportunities to build the skills in conversations and in everyday life interactions that make up a complete ability to negotiate consent. Now, if you don't know how to talk about sexual violence and aggression, you're not broken. It's simply another sign of the tongue-tied parent effect, right? And an impact of not growing up in a consensual world. So you've just learned how to talk to growing kids about how sex, which is meant to be wonderful, can sometimes hurt people. But remember, this is only one topic of conversation amongst the hundreds and hundreds of conversation topics that are related to sensitive things and building the ability to have healthy relationships that our kids need to have with us. So this information doesn't do you much good in isolation, to be quite honest. If you don't have the skills to be present during tough conversations and manage painful emotions, both in yourself and in your kids, it's going to impact how open you can be and how willing your kids are to coming to talk to you about dark things. So if you would like to learn the complete method that helps parents and other caring adults talk about sensitive things like abuse, while also managing your own feelings and the feelings of your kids, look for a link somewhere around where you're watching or listening to this podcast, and you can leave your contact info when the Evolve School opens next. And that's sitting in a car for another week, where I've answered a question to help you raise your confident and caring young person who respects themselves and the people around them. Bye for now. Damn it. Need to have a little dancey sort of music break for a minute. Okay, point number 2. How do I say this thing? I keep making a mistake and have to keep having to go back. I got distracted there for a minute inside my phone, so now I have to go back and find out where I was.